Thank you guys very much. Appreciate y'all showing up. Today's class is in webinar format, so your camera will not be active during the presentation. But if you can hear my voice, you're in the right place. You only have to attend now to receive your credit. Your time here, it will be tracked by Trek. Say that several times fast. And they're going to be the ones issuing your state cred. So give them about a week or so. That's usually what it takes. There's nothing that we can do to speed them up, okay? They will do all that. As soon as this is over, I marked everybody attended, and the rest is up to Trek. If you ever have any questions about our services, booking an inspection or a class or anything inspection related, please don't hesitate to reach out. We service the Austin, Houston, San Antonio, all the surrounding areas. And what I did is put the Texas regional manager in the chat. His name is Lucas Sanders. And I put his contact info in the chat there. So you can feel free to get a hold of him anytime. If you are interested in any other classes that we have, or even having us do them for your team or your office, feel free to reach out. We would love to do that too. Additional classes can be found at a link that I also put in the chat there. Just click on the link and follow the bouncing ball. All right, welcome to the basics of heating systems. So just a heads up, we will be recording this. So it will be available for anyone who wants to reference it later. If you want a copy, to make it easy on me, if you put your email address in the chat, it's in one place. It's easy for me to go get, and I'll make sure I send you a copy. This class will be good for 1 credit towards your renewal. Again, it takes Trek about a week or so to get their stuff done and all the things, the paperwork they have to do. So give them a little bit of time. You will also get an email with an option to leave some feedback, all right, about today's class. All feedback and input is welcome, okay? We are always trying to improve the curriculum and the experience. Now, you don't have to leave a feedback or anything like that. That's fine too. You get credit, all that good stuff, but the feedback is appreciated. Who the heck am I? My name is John Bolton, and I am going to be your instructor today. I started doing inspections back in 1998, and besides a degree in building construction, I have accumulated a few certifications and licenses along the way. I've completed about 12,000 various inspections throughout my career and have helped train and develop inspectors across the country. I do that because I'm also a national speaker. All things inspection related. And I've published numerous articles. I've even written 2 books. And I say this stuff not to brag, just to let you guys know where I'm coming from and maybe earn just a little bit of trust. So if you have any questions as we go through this, since I can't see anybody, I attempt to keep an eye on the chat, but it's sometimes it's hard to talk, chew gum, and watch the chat at the same time. So you may have to just interrupt if I'm just rolling along and I don't notice it, all right? Afterwards, I'll be happy to hang out here and do my best to answer any questions that you might have. So really quick here, we have some other good classes coming up. Anybody can join, always free, always good for CEs. Here's a few of them coming up. Now, that link at the bottom, that's the one that I put in the chat there. So if you click on that, follow the bouncing ball, it takes you through the educational portal. You can sign up for anything that you want. Feel free to invite your friends too. There's plenty of room in here. So before we get rolling today, this class is sponsored by TLC Home Inspections. TLC is a local multi-inspector firm servicing Austin, San Antonio, Houston, all those cool surrounding areas. So here's what you get when you choose TLC as your home inspection partner. We do over 6,000 inspections a year, so we come from a ton of experience. We also know you guys work 7 days a week, so we are available 7 days a week as well. We include warranties with every full inspection. And we are also super excited to provide you and your clients with something called Home Binder. For the client, Home Binder is one single, simple, secure online platform for all of their home-related stuff. Okay, clients can store all their home's documents, inspection reports, warranty information, repairs, renovations, all that stuff in there. And then they also receive maintenance reminders and appliance recalls as well. That's really cool stuff. HomeBinder they also do this free concierge service so that clients can use that to help help them set up utilities and companies that do all kinds of services, like cable and internet, setting all those things up. All these companies are vetted and they are specific to each market as well. Now, the client does not have to use this. It's just simply something free that TLC provides. What's cool for you, the agent, HomeBinder brands every message and every reminder that's sent to the client with your information. It keeps you at the top of their mind. We're marketing for you for free, basically. Now, HomeBinder provides a repair pricer for all the stuff, the deficiencies that we find in the report. All those are researched and they use local data for accurate estimates. And this repair pricer thing only goes to you, the agent. Okay, so you can choose to ignore it or you can choose to use it. Totally up to you. As far as report delivery, within a few hours of the inspection, assuming all the technology gods are on our side. TLC has over 1,400 five-star reviews online, so we take our client services very, very serious. We back every inspection with a 200% guarantee. And what that means is if you or the client's not completely satisfied with the inspection, not only are we going to refund the money, but we're also going to pay for and send out the inspector of your choice to redo the inspection. That takes away the risk of giving us a try at the very least, right? So here's a few things that separate us from the competition. We do free infrared thermal imaging on every full inspection. That gives us the ability to identify things that you can't see with the naked eye, things like missing insulation, leaks from roofs or plumbing fixtures, overheated breakers, leaky ductwork, all kinds of cool stuff. Most of our packages also include a foundation elevation readings. So we help take that guesswork out of the whole foundation assessment. Gives your client actual data regarding the performance of that house right there. With most of our packages, irrigation is included up to 12 zones. We do our own in-house termite. We do our own swimming pool inspections, septic inspections, and depending which market you're in, we offer mold and indoor air quality assessments. We can take samples and all that good stuff. Oh, as well as sewer scope inspections. And the more of those sewer scope inspections you see, you realize everybody should have one, whether you're buying a house or not. You would be amazed at some of the funny and shocking things we find inside people's waistlines. And last, really quick, we are stoked to announce that we offer the option for clients to pay at close. Cool stuff, right? All right, today we are going to get right into the heating systems. There's going to be a lot of stuff we go over today, and really our goal is to give you a good solid background into heating systems, okay? So to help really absorb this experience, I need each of you right now, get up and go set your thermostat to heat mode and dial it up as high as it'll go. 105, 110, 115, whatever. I'll sit here and wait for you guys. If you're getting up, that was just a joke. I work hard on my comedy here. You might find as we go through here. If you're smiling, at least I'm imagining everybody smiling and laughing because I can't see anybody, so I'm just kind of entertaining myself here. So thumbs up every now and then would help. Anyway, we're going to go through the basics of HVAC systems, heating fundamentals, how heating systems are classified, different types of heating systems, and then some of the common problems that we see in heating systems. I think I've also got some maintenance tips at the end here too. So these are all really good things for you to know as agents. It helps make you look like a rock star in front of your clients, right? And that's really the only thing that matters. All right, this is what the inspector will inspect on the HVAC system. And when we say what they will inspect using, I'm talking about using normal controls, right? Typically, we're talking things like the thermostat, right? That's what controls the system. Doing much more starts crossing that licensing line, having a mechanical license and just an HI license. We're just home inspectors. I do remember before I started doing home inspections, I thought I wanted to do mirror inspections. I really thought I could see myself doing that. I am laughing at myself right now. All right, the inspector is going to describe the energy source. Okay, so what kind of fuel is powering the system? It's typically going to be electric or gas. We identify potential safety concerns and report on the system's performance. And then, of course, we make recommendations for evaluations when needed, things that might exceed our licensing or our level of knowledge. What is not included in the inspection? Well, first, most of the internal components, all right? Home inspections, as you know, visual, non-invasive inspections. We don't take systems apart as much as men would like to. Things like geothermal and solar heating systems, we don't do. Those are systems that really fall outside our scope, require additional licensing in many cases. And the only thing we could do is check for performance, right? Does it work? Okay. USTs, underground fuel storage tanks. We obviously can't see the integrity of those tanks, but know that they also have certain life expectancy. If you've got a tank that's been there for 7, 8, 9 decades, bottom line is it's at the end of its economical life. It's a chunk of metal that's stuck in the ground with fuel and a little bit of air. Okay, so bad things happen when it's been underground that long. And then systems in outbuildings, we can include those, but there's typically a little additional fee for that. Thank you. I got an LOL. I'm feeling better already. All right, so here's a good example of limitations and things that we can't inspect. The inspector will not operate a heat pump system in the heating mode when it's hot outside. Okay, then there's a potential to cause real damage to the system. They're only designed to operate within certain ranges. Refrigerants have to change state in order for the components to remove or dissipate heat. Okay, but the refrigerant can't do that outside certain ranges, right? And 70 degrees is about where the industry's kind of set that standard. So that's because the refrigerants change state. That's also why AC contractors typically have multiple state licenses, because the refrigerants change states. I'll be here for the next 3 hours. All right, most heating systems can be described according to one or more categories. And really, this is how we boiled down the different variations of heating systems. And I realized there could be a joke inserted here. I'm gonna have to look that one up, work on that one. Um, there's you have the heat conveying medium, okay, the conductive or radiant heat, like in a floor water pipe heating system, or convective, like an electric forced air. The fuel type that they use, like we said, is usually going to be electric or gas. The nature of the heat or the efficiency and capacity of that system. Now, in Texas, some of these things are not really going to apply to us much because we have such a warmer climate. But any of y'all Yankees, you know that there are several different other types of heating methods that are used versus what we generally see here in Texas. Every once in a while, we'll run into a fuel, oil, or radiator type system, but not very often. Now, most commonly in Texas, you're going to see a split forced air system. Okay, that's the most common type. It's a forced air system that distributes heat from a furnace throughout the home using air ducts and vents. Really, I'm going to say 95% of the time, right? This is what you're going to see. And we do see some radiant systems. We see that a little bit maybe in higher end homes. Okay. You Yankees know what I'm talking about. Y'all grew up with those radiator systems. I can just remember one when I was in third grade, we had one. We typically, those things are abandoned, because they're about as good as a trap door in a canoe, and they're super heavy to move. So you will see a little bit of floor radiant heat, but those big radiator systems, those are ancient history. These radiant systems, they can be installed in the floor or the ceiling too, if you've never seen those. But again, just something we don't see very often. Now, I'd say hot water baseboards and electric baseboards. Okay, those are a couple of other types. I guess you'd say zone heat, right? Hot water baseboards are also, they also call them hydronic heating systems, if Alex Trebek ever asked you. And what that does is it uses hot water to heat a space or a certain area, a certain location. And of course, electric baseboards, it's the same concept, right? Just using electricity versus water. So generally you might find them in smaller spaces because it's a cheaper alternative to install a little localized heat distribution than a full central. These systems, they also allow you to control and maintain these different climates within a larger climate or a larger environment of the whole house. So some people like them because they don't want to keep the entire house heated the whole time, but they want to keep the living room heated during the day, maybe the bedroom at night. So this does help you to be a little more efficient, specifically efficient, if you can picture that. All right, so now the heat conveying medium. There's really two different heat conveying mediums that carry heat for us, and that's air and water. Okay, the heat conveying medium is what carries the heat from the source to the area that you're trying to heat. But we also classify them as fuel types. Okay, so you've got gas-fired, wood-burning, oil-fired, multiple fuel. They call them multi-fuels, electric, and coal-burning. Okay, not going to see that one very often anymore, but if for some reason your client has a home with coal-burning furnace, it's probably time for an upgrade, right? But and I brought this up specifically because I was in North Carolina one time with a good friend of mine, multi-inspector firm there, and he showed me something I have never seen in my life. I don't know if you guys have ever seen this, but I saw coal fireplaces, coal burning fireplaces. Seriously, check this out. I put a couple pictures in here because it's just so neat. They look similar, just a different size. They're not very deep. Those things were maybe a foot deep. Okay. And at the time, those were actually meant to spill. In other words, in order to get heat into the room, they allowed the products of combustion, which also contained carbon monoxide, allowed that to spill into the room. We obviously don't see those much anymore because now we know what carbon monoxide is. But I thought those were just really, really neat. Equipment. All right. Equipment can also be categorized by its heating fuel. Fuels like fuel, electricity, gas, wood, kerosene, coal, pellets. Yes, even pellets. There are furnace systems that are designed to be powered with pellets. It's just not for backyard barbecues anymore. But as technology continues to develop, we might just start to see nuclear powered heating systems or something even worse. Like this poor guy. I couldn't find an actual video of a guy riding a bike that powered a TV. That's the best I could do. So, all right, now we'll talk a little bit about what I would say in most of our markets is going to be either the most common or second most common type of heating fuel, and that's natural gas. Natural gas does not, in its natural state anyway, have any color or smell. A lot of people think that the sulfur, that rotten egg smell, is just what natural gas smells like. But in fact, it's not natural to natural gas. It's actually added to natural gas. And the reason why we want to do that is to help identify leaks. Because if you didn't know, you couldn't fix and bad things happen, right? It's extremely important that we don't let carbon monoxide build up inside the house, especially if you're a smoker, right? That leads to a very long nap, which is extremely unproductive. Does anybody know where you can still get gas for $1.49? You can always throw an answer up in the nope. Answer is easy. Taco Bell. All right. Thank you, Jewel. Now, here's a good little diagram of what a gas meter setup looks like. We've probably all seen these before, right? I'll talk a little bit about the different components here. The meter, typically located outside, is going to measure the volume of gas entering the building, and of course, your local gas provider keeps track of that for you, right? So they know how much to charge you. The meter itself is owned by the gas company. Okay, everything upstream is managed by the gas company. Okay, but everything downstream is the customer's responsibility. Got that? So the meter and upstream is going to be gas side, and the client or customer will be everything else. Okay. Now, if you look here at this little diagram, you can see here, there we go, that we've got our regulator and our service line, which comes from the utility company underground. So that's the responsibility of the gas company. And then we've got our fuel line right there. The fuel line going into the building, right? Sometimes you'll see it where it disappears into the ground. That's usually because there's a basement and it's going down. But most of the time they just enter right into the house. Now, there are a lot of questions that come up about this little thing right here. That little wire you see going around the service line, Some people think that has something to do with grounding. It has nothing to do with grounding. It's a tracer wire. Okay, nothing to do with, I should say bonding. Nothing to do with bonding. It's a tracer wire. It helps the service company locate that pipe, where it is, so they don't inadvertently dig it up. Okay, so it's nothing anybody has to deal with. It's just there. Without that, you wouldn't know where that pipe was. They put a little charge on it and then and are able to detect it under the ground with detection equipment. Now, when it comes to the gas meter, there are a few things that we inspect. If you've ever received an inspection report, sometimes you'll see this, the top one there, rust. Why we do this, why we call out rust on galvanized piping system, primarily because it can damage the material and compromise its functionality. If you ignore it, if you let it go, it can't get any better. It can only get worse, especially at joints. So you'll definitely see that pop up on reports. Peeling paint, you'll see occasionally, very occasionally, damage to the meter itself. Riding lawnmowers, sometimes damage those things. Inadequate access. Service techs have to be able to access the system, right? I know people don't like to look at them, so a lot of times you'll find plants around them because they're trying to hide that big ugly meter, right? It's not recommended, especially the thorny bush type. Not real fun to inspect a gas system that's surrounded by thorny bushes. Thorny bushes should ideally be placed in front of young girls' windows. May I get an amen, dads? Seriously, though, it is important to have access to that shutoff in case there's an emergency, right? And of course, gas leaks. That's where that smell comes into play. Anytime that we are around gas appliances, if we smell any leaking gas, that's definitely a cause for concern, unless your mother-in-law smokes. Okay, it's just a joke. It's just a joke. All of these things you're probably going to see on a report at some point. All right. Now, when it comes to gas leaks and things that are safety risks, those are things that we will tell the homeowner like right away. Okay. It's our responsibility as an inspector. I believe, in my opinion, right? We're responsible to you and the buyer to maintain the integrity of the report and keep all the information between us. However, when it comes to the safety issues, we're going to make sure that those are taken care of as quickly as possible, or at least notifying, the homeowner as quickly as possible. So just a little side note there. So the gas piping after the meter is the responsibility of the homeowner. The gas line does need to be properly supported and secured in attics and above ceiling spaces, right? Typically, you're going to see support every 6 feet or so. And where, what was I going to say? Well, like you can see this the in the picture there, you'll see hangers holding these things up. So if you look at that little, speaking of, look at that little arrow, that's called a drip leg. Drip leg. That is a requirement on gas systems and gas appliances with an asterisk, okay? That is to allow for sediment and stuff that is in the gas. It gets caught inside that little drip leg before it goes into the unit, or gets caught in the little orifice and which could hold it open. These are installed improperly a lot. Okay. They must be, as far as their location, they must be after the shutoff and as close to the appliance as possible. And they also have a specific direction that they go in. And we see that improper all the time. The one you're looking at here, it looks good. If you look here, you see a yellow flex line, okay, that connects to a rigid pipe that goes into the unit. Okay, that's an appliance connector. Okay, it's a connector. It's connected to the hard pipe. We want to see protection for that penetration. The panel where it penetrates, that can be actually sharp, and especially over time, the unit vibrates, heats up, cools down. It can actually cut or damage those flexible lines. You can imagine if your unit runs for 8 hours a day, for an entire winter, somewhere around here, right? All that vibration rubbing up against the side of the flex line will eventually cause wear and damage. So if you've ever wondered why you see that on a report, that's why. But it's a very, very simple, very inexpensive fix. All right. This is a really cool graphic that I put together. One very important thing to note is that our gas lines must be bonded. Okay, I mentioned that just a second ago. The purpose of bonding is to eliminate voltage gradient. So if there is a lightning strike, bonding would help limit the potential for the electricity to arc to metal gas lines. When that arc happens and you blow a hole in the gas line, you have a blowtorch, literally, and it just keeps coming. Now you guys know what to do if you ever find yourself on fire, right? Or maybe let me put it this way: maybe what you should not do. You don't want to go waving your arms around in the air, because you could get arrested for waving a firearm in public. I crack myself up sometimes. So you're going to see here on the far right bottom, that is a bonding clamp, okay? You're typically going to find it over there by the meter and the electric panel. And I'll show you a picture of what that looks like. That's what it looks like in the field. Macro, micro shot right there. Just a clamp that holds a wire to a pipe. That's it. Eliminating voltage gradient. In this diagram, all sorts of different gas appliances. As systems continue to expand, right? We start to look for more ways to do that more efficiently. So we don't always use rigid pipes. A lot of times you'll see CSST. CSST is corrugated stainless steel tubing like this. And just another side note, when getting an inspection, always make sure the gas service is on, please, if it's obvious, if it's present. We want to be able to inspect all the appliances, and if there's no gas, we can't do anything with it. But that's what it looks like. The black one is a newer system to the yellow, basically the same thing. The black one is less conducive, so it's supposed to have less issues than the yellow ones. Now, our gas shutoffs. The main shutoff, typically located at the meter itself, right? The local shutoff should be installed adjacent to the appliance that the service is supplying. And that shutoff valve should be 6 feet away or less, give or take, right? That way you can easily access it in emergency. And well, it also helps service techs to service the appliance too, right? All right, so we talked a little bit about CSST. Here's some more information, and there's a website there That's a great resource to anybody who has questions about CSST. We do get questions a lot from clients and agents because they've heard from a friend or a family. They've seen stories on the news that CSST is dangerous. I get it. I totally get it. It really got a bad rap because it was first when it was first starting to be used. Uh, they weren't being bonded or weren't being bonded correctly, right? And it really kind of became a big deal when we would have those lightning strikes, like that little illustration I had there. Those, of course, now with the internet and the proliferation of news, it exploded, pun intended there. The news exploded with these stories. I do think things are better today than they were yesteryear, especially with newer systems. Um, if you notice there in that photo on the manifold there, there is a bonding clamp right there in the middle. Right? It's not the best job and not really where it's supposed to be, but better than nothing. Now, when we talk about combustion, we're talking about the gas combustion system, right? It involves the burning of the fuel that produces heat energy. But we do need an adequate supply of air, just like when you have a candle in a jar. If you cover the jar, the fire ceases to burn. So we'll talk a little bit here in a minute about some of the problems we have with our systems when we don't have that adequate supply of air. If our combustion air is inadequate, then carbon monoxide can be produced. And of course, that can be lethal. When things like cracked flues, chimney blockages, oversized exhaust hoods, unvented space heaters are present, combustion can be incomplete, or even a reverse draft can be created, and then really bad things happen. Really bad things, right? If you have an attached garage or any fuel burning appliance and don't already have a CO detector or a carbon monoxide detector in your home, I highly, highly recommend them. These became codified in 2008 in Florida, where I live, in 2009 in Texas. So they've been around a very long time. They look just like a smoke detector, but they are detecting for CO. Now, there are three main types of draft systems. There's a natural draft, an induced draft, and a forced air system. The natural system is really kind of gone out of style, kind of obsolete, low efficiency. Those things have no draft fan, just natural draft, really old school stuff, really, right? Um, Occasionally you're going to see one clinging to life in an older home, but most of those have gone away. Induced draft furnaces are an upgrade, right? Where fans induce or help a draft, and it's not a huge efficiency upgrade, but it is an upgrade. For the most part, what you're going to see is a forced draft burner system, and with a excuse me, goodness, swallowed one right down the wrong pipe. Where was I at? With a forced draft system, they're they're mostly gas furnaces, right? Some oil burning furnaces. The fans are before the motor. Okay, they are going to be the most efficient, and the intent is that we utilize all of the fuel that's being provided to the system. Okay, now you'll notice there the AFUE. That's the annual fuel utilization efficiency ranking. Again, say that one real fast. The annual fuel utilization efficiency ranking. The higher the AFUE, the greater the amount of heat generated per the amount of energy used. Okay, more efficient. The minimum AFUE allowed for new furnaces, newly installed furnaces, is going to be 78% or higher. So, since you were just asking yourself, I wonder how we gauge the efficiency of heating systems. Well, that's how. The AFUE. Do you know what your furnace and computer have in common? When you open Windows, they both lose efficiency. Not letting up. How else do you make gas fun, right? Okay. Now, backdrafting, this is when the combustion gases are not drafting, or they're not rising up through the chimney and venting out of the house, which means gases are spilling back into the house. Remember talking about CO detection being required? It's a very cheap early warning device because backdrafting can occur without you ever knowing it, right? It's not like you got lights and whistles that go off. So hence, please get a CO detector if you don't already have one. That's why we also recommend testing those detectors, and that's why we do it. We will do, during a home inspection, we'll do the smoke detectors and the CO detectors, make sure that they're functioning properly. So your homework tonight, ready? Write this down. Go test your smoke and your CO detectors for me, all right? If you don't have one, don't go home. Go straight to Home Depot, Menards, Lowe's, whatever you got. Please pick one up. So what causes backdrafting, you ask? Typically, it's there's a blockage. Okay, sometimes you see birds that make nests in chimneys, and then the smoke comes in the family room, right? Sometimes it's a depressurization around that appliance area that causes the exhaust to basically go the wrong direction. Okay, if you have what's really popular nowadays is a humongous kitchen hood and it removes too much air, that can cause appliances to backdraft. I've seen people even put covers over old chimneys during the summer, and then they forget to remove them. And then, people go start a fire. Like one time my mother-in-law used to have a cabin in Maggie Valley, North Carolina, and I'm born and raised in Florida. So it was like a real thrill to have a fire in the fireplace. But we started it, and they hadn't taken that lid off, and it filled the whole cabin with smoke. It was quite a Florida cracker time we had. Sometimes you'll see systems that have changed from an old wood burning to a gas or something, and the flues aren't modified, or now they're too big. That can be a problem. In a depressurized situation, I can't remember what I had on these pictures. Yeah, you can have multiple things, multiple appliances on the same flue. It's just you'll have the bigger one on the bottom. Sometimes that doesn't happen. The one on the right here, you've got a very heavy column of cold air and a small column of warm air trying to push that out, and it's going to take some time. That's it. When you have a depressurized situation, that's when you have a greater negative pressure outside of the appliance, right? That causes that CO to spill. You could have one like say a large furnace next to a small water heater, and it's in a small room, right? The larger appliance is going to win. And in that case, you need to install upper and lower ventilation to that space. A scenario we discovered during a new construction inspection one time was that they installed a 1200 CFM exhaust hood in the kitchen, which would basically pull out 100% of the air in that area. So if there were fuel-fired appliances, it would definitely cause them issues. I made a little YouTube video, and I put the address in my notes here. Let me see if I can put it in the chat. Nope. I don't know why that doesn't work. All right, I'm trying to copy it. Anyway, I made a video of that, thought it was pretty cool. You may have seen this kind of deficiency pop up in a report before. These can be easy and inexpensive fixes, or they can be difficult and technical and expensive. Okay. Either way, they're dangerous and they must be looked at. So here's a great example of how to check for backdrafting. This is like the oldest way in the book to do it. All right. But it's tried and true. It works. That's why people still do it. What you want to do is light a match, and then you want to see that flame and smoke get drawn up into the flue and disappear. If it's not, then there's a drafting issue, right? So if you want to dazzle everyone at home tonight, try this trick. It might just save your life. All right, now we have electric heating systems. This is also very common. It's just like a toaster, okay? Elements get hot, a fan blows over them and delivers warm air to the space via the ductwork. Real simple. The other type of electric system, which is very common, are heat pump systems. They are very efficient, and that can use both heat pump mode as well as resistive heat, like we just looked at in that last graphic. They work by using a refrigerant to absorb and release the heat energy through a process that pressurizes the gas to heat it up and then depressurizes it to cool it down. That's all the refrigeration process is. In heat pump mode, it definitely allows for lower operating costs. It requires less maintenance, and it can have a longer lifespan. Now, how do we tell if it's a heat pump or just a conventional electric system? Well, one way to tell is the thermostat. Okay, if you look at the thermostat and it has an auxiliary heat option or an emergency heat mode, most likely that's a heat pump system, unless they've installed the wrong type of thermostat. Like in my house, I literally have that here in my house. Also, another way to tell is by taking a look at this photo right here. Right, in that photo, you can see the reversing valve. In a heat pump, the refrigerant flows in different directions depending on what mode it's operating in. This valve simply redirects the flow. That's it, hence reversing valve. In this unit, you probably wouldn't be able to see the reversing valve because it's kind of hidden there. But here, that one you can look down, you know, when you're looking down on top of the condensing unit outside, that open cage, looking down, you see that cigar looking thing. That copper looking cigar thing. Now, if you go up north where it's a lot colder, heat pumps are not going to be as commonplace because they just can't be as efficient in extreme environments, okay? With the heat pump, that auxiliary or emergency heat mode is actually a secondary electric heating mode that's used when the temperature starts to get really low and the heat pump becomes less and less efficient. It's not able to remove heat from the outside nearly as good as it did when it wasn't as extreme. But that's when the emergency mode typically kicks in. Now, the emergency mode will draw a higher amperage. Okay, so it's not as efficient. It'll cost you a little bit more, but sometimes you just don't care, right? All right, some disadvantages. Some refrigerants raise environmental concerns, right? The whole ozone depletion thing and the whole not efficient thing in extreme environments. I get it. So a couple disadvantages there. Now, one other type of system that we see occasionally is a geothermal system. These work by moving temperature conducting fluid through an underground loop of pipes utilizing a pump. All right. They're highly efficient in the right climate. However, they can be very expensive to install and even service. Okay. When you need them, when you need to, because you got to like dig things up. It can be gross expensive, right? I've heard that there are certain neighborhoods, kind of more towards what I was told, northeast side of Austin, that you might see these systems in. So if you're working that area, and you know that a subdivision or something has these systems, you might want to ask your inspector if they know anything about geothermal, because quite frankly, since we don't see much of them, most home inspectors aren't provided with a lot of education. Sometimes they'll have whole neighborhoods built on a grid. So actually, if you check out this picture here, where we see these fields running underground, this one illustrates a horizontal and a vertical loop, right? They're just like massive networks of these fields running through neighborhoods. It is important to note these systems have been around a long time. Okay, it's not brand new technology or anything like that, just not widely used because of the cost to install and maintain primarily. Now, here are some common problems that as inspectors we see on heating systems. First and foremost, lack of maintenance. I mean, seriously, you'd be shocked. Whether it doesn't matter whether it's a gas system or an electric system, you get coils, filters, blowers. Like there's a real afterthought there. They're out of sight, they're out of mind, and a lack of maintenance can drastically affect comfort levels. They will also cost you more to run when they get dirty and they're not as efficient. And what that ultimately can do is affect the equipment longevity. Okay, if it runs hotter, harder, longer, then it won't live as long as if it were clean and running smoothly. Dirty and clogged filters, I can't express how important those things are to keep the system healthy. When filters become dirty, they limit airflow, which decreases air volume blowing into certain rooms. And some of you, every time we talk about these kind of things in classes, people start shaking their heads. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I know what you're talking about. So check your furnace filters regularly and replace them when they're visibly dirty. You know, I'm not the one to say it must be every 30 days on the dot, but some environments are cleaner than others. Some get by a little bit longer. But you want to check them regularly and replace them regularly. Nowadays, most of your better filters are going to last you 3 months. So it's literally not like every week or every 4 weeks. Lack of airflow is an issue. This can be caused by several things. Some of the most common with poor airflow is or the most common problems, I guess, that you would experience are going to be hot areas or cold areas in the house. It'll often result in poorly controlled humidity. All those things can contribute to poor air quality. And of course, all those things contribute to higher operating costs. So lack of airflow can again come from dirty filters, dirty coils, nasty coils, blower wheels that get impacted with a bunch of stuff, and inadequate return air path. Okay, that can a lot of that too can come from improperly installed ductwork. I will tell you right now that ductwork is rarely installed properly. Just never is. Lastly, the thermostat. Okay, when you put the thermostat near the front door, near the garage door, in this case in the kitchen, or on a wall that gets like, sun exposure, that's going to cause the thermostat to call for the system to operate, whether the rest of the house needs it or not. Okay, look at this thermostat. You know what happens to the air conditioner when they close the refrigerator door? It loses its cool, man. I'm still funny to myself. Check out these genius installations for me. All right. All right. This is the real comedic part. Okay. Look at that in a closet, in a garage. These are all my personal pictures too. Another one in a garage. How about that one directly below where the cold air comes out? Like it comes on and goes off. Right above the stovetop. And our last genius, yes, that is outside. I swear, I personally took every one of those pictures. That particular house right there, our client must have walked on it. I didn't, I don't know. But not long thereafter, I'm driving by because it's not far from my house. A home inspector bought this house. True story. I'd go by and see his truck there constantly. And our client wasn't a home inspector. So kind of funny. All right, so a few more problems we see. Leaking or improperly connected ductwork. This is virtually an invisible problem unless your inspector is using thermal imaging. Okay. It's a waste of cold air and can cause condensation issues, especially if your ductwork's in the attic space. Cold air meets hot air, you get condensation, right? Improperly closed access panels, the access doors. As a safety precaution, a lot of furnaces, they won't operate if the blower door compartment is open. They have a little switch in there. A lot of systems are designed like that. If your furnace or your air handler won't come on like after you've replaced a filter or something like that, check that panel. Okay, make sure that is closed tight. That just might save you a $200 service call right there. If your system doesn't have that kind of safety feature and the access or even penetrations in the cabinet are open, the system will ingest contaminated air from the surrounding area. So when the panel is in the garage and you pull the car in, it's inhaling, right? All that hot, moist air, all that carbon monoxide from the car, all that stuff. Now, burning smells that are present during the operation of a system, typically it's a problem. However, if it's the first time that a system is kicking on, after sitting for all summer, you might get that burning smell, and that's just burning off dust that's accumulated there, that's impacted the coils and the fan and that kind of stuff. So I wouldn't, don't panic right away. Don't call it a problem right away. Give it a few minutes, and if it doesn't go away, that's when you call a professional. Another common problem would be mold, right? Moisture is the result of poor insulation, unsealed penetrations, um, improper or inadequate ductwork, which creates a really ideal environment for mold growth. If you smell something off, I highly recommend some further evaluation. The plenum is always a good spot to check if you have concern about fungal growth. It doesn't cost you anything to go look. You can use a flashlight, look in your return plenum, look in the supply registers on usually on your ceiling. Look inside if you see any stuff growing. I literally recently had this inspection where the occupant has cancer and recently had surgery and was worried about her air quality. I want to show you these pics that I took from that inspection. So think about that for a second. She has cancer. She's going through those treatments. She just had surgery, and it came across her and her husband's mind. Maybe we should have the place checked, see if we have a mold problem. These pictures, again, I took personally all of these in her house. Look at that, right? I mean, I've got visible growth. It was pretty nasty. So could this compromise her even further? Absolutely. I'm not trying to play doctor, just just obvious stuff. So it's always a good idea for regular maintenance, regular inspections. It's always beneficial to be proactive versus reactive. Okay, so change your filter regularly. I believe Amazon even has a program where they'll ship it to you every couple months or 3 months, whatever it is. I don't know. How hard would that be? Put it on a schedule. Testing your CO and smoke detectors regularly. Again, it's a safety issue. Check those. Ensure that your supply and return registers are not blocked. You want airflow. Lastly, I'd say annual tune-up services. Always a good idea. Let professionals help you. Reminds me of last winter. I called my heating contractor over for non-function, right? Wasn't working. He asked how long it's been down. I said, about 2 weeks. He says, why'd you wait so long to call me? I told him, I said, dude, my in-laws were here and planning on staying for a month. I had to get him out. Now, something a lot of people ask us is, how much is that HVAC going to cost to replace? I'm sorry. How much is this system going to cost to replace? Please keep in mind, oh my goodness. Please keep in mind, these numbers here are national averages, okay? When repair or replacement's being considered, always get some local quotes. But just trying to give you, some guesstimates here. Just remember, cleaning and maintenance runs $100 to $300, so it will always be more affordable to maintain than to replace or repair. Cost can vary drastically. You'll use $1,700 to $2,000 a ton is about average now. Sometimes it could be 3,000 a ton, 12,000 a ton. It depends on and I'm talking one system. Okay, depends on how fancy your system is. I've seen some of them that are very, very, very expensive. So if you have a home that has 2 systems or 3 systems, it can be a wallop whopper really, really fast. As far as ductwork, that could be $200, $250 a drop. Okay. What that means, a drop is every supply register. So typically 1 per bedroom, 1 per family room, right? One per bathroom, kitchen, etc. So you can drop a couple thousand, several thousand right there just for one system. Plus, the cleaner you keep your home, the less stuff that your system ingests. So keep things clean, people. Keep things clean. And that is right where we will bury this presentation. I really appreciate y'all. I love you all air conditionally. That is my last joke. Feel free to use me as a bad comedic example. That way I won't be completely, totally useless. And if anybody wants to ask questions, I will be happy to stick around. If not, please feel free to reach out for other presentations or inspections. We're always here, always open. And with that, I will leave you. Thank you all.
I have a question. Sorry, I was trying to find a way to mute. My name is Laura Claypack. I thank you for this course. The question that I have was about the sort of the leak. What are the ways, sort of not being an HVAC professional, how can we as a homeowner detect that? There's no way, right? I mean, how can you do that? When you go up there, how can you see that there's any leaks or anything? There's no machine that can.
You mean a refrigerant leak?
No, the sort of not the refrigerant leak, the pipes that go into the HVAC.
Okay, ductwork leaks. Sometimes you cannot visually see them. Okay, the best way is going to be with an infrared. The infrared is going to show, assuming it's we always assume the system's operating in cold, right? Because it's always cold. I mean, it's always hot outside. So you'll see that cold air blowing somewhere. So I could be standing right on top of it in an attic. There's insulation over it, or a rodent has chewed a hole on the opposite side of me or underneath it. You can't see it, but a lot of times that infrared will pick up this cold spot. And you're wondering, why is there a cold spot in that attic that's 140 degrees? There you go. So sometimes it's painfully easy to find with the infrared.
So that's a device that we can buy and check our attic, or how would that work?
Actually, now the price of infrared cameras has come way down. You can get a low res, it won't be a super high end one. To give you perspective, my infrared camera is 10 grand, and it's not the cheapest one I ever bought. But right now I have an extremely good one, but I use it every day, right? Nowadays you can buy them for a few $100. And as an agent, you know what? That's a legit write-off, and you could take that around and quickly identify things like air leaks, things like some water leaks, a toilet that leaks that you can't see. Maybe it's going through a wall, things that might be overheating. So for a few $100, I mean, why not? I'm talking $300 to $500. You can buy a little handheld, almost the size of your phone.
Yeah, because that can definitely save you some money in the long term, because you're not efficiently, cooling your home if you have a leak up there, obviously. Yeah.
Can you imagine what a rock star real estate agent you would be if you were the only real estate agent walking around with an infrared camera?
Okay, I'll look it up on Amazon. Thank you.
There you go. There you go. Thanks, Miss Laura. Appreciate you.
Thank you very much.
You got it. Appreciate y'all. Have an awesome week.